Right, so quick intro. I used to struggle with social anxiety quite badly. I was pretty much the model of being anxious at any sort of interaction with another human being, and now I'm good. So I thought I'd make this video explaining how I got there. Hope you find it useful and enjoy.
It's important for us to understand that this isn't a personal thing. These things that you're feeling, this panic that you're going through, it isn't because of some divine or some predetermined destiny or terrible fate that you have to feel this way, that you are just this type of person. That's not true. There are obviously going to be genetic factors with any mental health hurdle. That doesn't mean, and what I'm trying to say, it doesn't mean that you're destined to not overcome this, that this is just a part of you, that this is a response that you cannot change. That is the first thing we have to understand, and we're going to understand that through neuroscience. So I'd really recommend becoming familiar with neuroscience, just generally speaking, not just to do with social anxiety, because what you've got to understand is literally, what social anxiety is when you're in a social situation, any social situation, your brain is responding in a nervous and anxious and fearful way. So, situation, response. That's all that's happening. Your brain has this tendency, this habit now, to just panic and have all this fear. Because once we understand that, we can also understand that we can change that. So, okay, how are we going to do that? What is the neuroscience? What is going on in the brain when you're socially anxious? So when you are feeling any sort of fear or panic, anxiety, all these things, it's all happening in this one part of the brain called the amygdala. So the amygdala is, like I've said, the center of anxiety. That's what you got to think. Keeping it simple, the more that's happening in the amygdala, so the more that it's running, the more anxiety you have. That's just like if the Cadbury factory is running more, you're producing more chocolate. So if the amygdala factory is working more, you're producing more anxiety, more panic, more fear. Okay? When you socialize, so when you're in a party or at school or wherever, when you're there, your amygdala is taking over, basically. It is where most of your brain activity is. Therefore, you're feeling more panicked and more anxious than the average human being or the average person. And because your brain is using those neural pathways in the amygdala, it's just getting used to using them. So the next time you're in a social situation, it just does it straight away again. The next time it does it straight away again and again and again and again and again. And it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and more difficult not to feel anxious when your brain is hardwired to respond to it that way. Now, I'm going to take us on a little bit of a journey here, because the problem with advising anyone on taking care of their mental health is it's so different to physical health, in the sense that when we're talking eating enough, so your nutrition's sorted, and you're already sleeping enough, so you're doing all the basics, that basic level of how to take care of your physical health is already there. And so then you can focus on, so that's how I grow my triceps, because you're already doing that stuff. The problem for people like you and me who want to help, who want to, make their mental health better, is that there's no base level of mental health knowledge right now. We're getting there, we're certainly getting there, but there's not like a base level that everyone knows, that we can just assume that you know, and you can assume that everyone else knows or whatever. So that's why we have to lay the groundwork. We have to do the 101. We have to do the basic stuff. So that's why step number one is, we're going to call it Neuroscience 101, making your brain healthy. We have to get you to a space where you're actively taking care of your brain, so that we can then start to rewire it. That's what we want. We want this thing to respond differently to when we're out there and we're talking to someone or any sort of situation. We want it to respond differently. So we've got to rewire it. But to make it healthier, we have to be taking care of it, right? It's like you can't grow your triceps if you're not eating enough, sleeping well, or just going to the gym anyways. If you're just going to the gym and just banging tricep extensions and you're not eating properly and you're literally not taking care of any other part of your body, you're not gonna get to where you want to get to, right? So it's the same sort of thing. Basic thing number one is taking care of your sleep. So this thing that I'm recording on, my phone, is such a massive hindrance to this. Stop taking your phone into bed. Stop using it at least half an hour before you sleep. If that's too much, then start with, okay, I'm just not going to have it on me when I lie down. Then take it to, I'm not going to have it on me when I get into bed. Then I'm not going to have it on me in the bedroom. And you'll automatically get to the half an hour mark pretty quickly. Sort out your sleep. Your mind needs it. Otherwise, anxiety, and it's not going to be healthy. You're not going to be able to rewire your social responses if you're not taking care of this guy anyways. Because this guy's the one that has to do the work. It's the one that has to change itself so that you have a better time when you're socially interacting, so you don't feel as anxious. You got to give it something. You got to take care of it so it can take care of you. Second thing, eat. My specific knowledge on food isn't the best. I eat pretty well, but I pretty much just watch other YouTubers and then I just figure it out from there. So do the same. Just literally human in lab, but there's so much information on what to eat, nutrition, and how it impacts the brain. Start doing some research. Start eating better. Once again, body needs it, brain needs it. Doing all the work, this guy. So he needs our help. Third thing. Now this is when we get into a little bit more specific stuff. Exercise. You got to take care of yourself. You got to work out. And for this, I actually also just mean resistance training as well. If you're into cardio, good, great, fantastic. If that's your thing, still loads of benefits there. But for social anxiety specifically, I'm talking about lifting weights and resistance training. And there's two big reasons for how that helps with social anxiety specifically. And the first one's the psychology of it. So fairly obvious. If you look better, I'm not trying to put out some body standards or anything like that for people here. That's not what this is about. But there is a socially desirable aspect to looking like you take care of yourself, right? So if you look like someone who takes care of their body, you will be more socially attractive. And it also means you're going to be more at ease when you socialize. You know, when you've got your arms are a bit bigger, you get a little bit more toned up, or you've dropped some fat, or whatever it is, whatever it means for you. If you're somebody who's taking those steps and you're going to the gym and you're sorting yourself out, and there's so many other better videos on how to get into the gym and all that stuff, which you should look into. If you're doing that, you will just feel better. You will feel better about yourself when you're socializing. And a lot of this video, the more in-depth stuff we're going to talk about, is going to be about the value of self-worth in regards to social anxiety and how it really impacts the way you approach socializing. Okay? So just keep that in mind. But yeah, going to the gym is really good for the psychological element of, I look good, I take care of myself. Cool, why should I feel anxious or threatened or fearful of anything that might happen in the social situation? Because I'm sorting myself out. I go to the gym, I sleep, I eat, I do all that, so I'm good. Okay? Second element is a physiological element of exercise. So the amygdala, stress, anxiety, not so good, not that much fun. When you exercise, you release these things called endocannabinoids. What do endocannabinoids do? A lot. Long story. Really, they help you stress less. They call it the don't worry, be happy chemical. Because literally, it helps you just, you do a workout and after you're just like, you're kind of dopey. At least more so than when you started. One, that's because your body's tired, so you're just like relaxed. And two, because your brain's been relaxed by the release of the endocannabinoids. So you're already starting to combat the amygdala. Slow it down. We're trying to slow it down. How do we slow it down? Basic thing number 4, meditation. Okay, so if you decide to keep watching my stuff, if you found this helpful, you'll find a video coming out soon on the value of meditation because it's unbelievable. So we're not going to get into that too much right now. I'm going to assume you've heard of meditation already because pretty much everyone talks about it. Maybe I have like an information bias where I'm only exposed to people who talk about meditation because I talk about meditation. I don't know. But yeah, meditate, close your eyes, focus on your breath, or just focus on observing your thoughts for 5 to 10 minutes a day, if not more, but 5 minutes is fine, especially if you're just starting out, it's great. And you'll see the difference. Because look, meditating literally slows down the amygdala. Literally. Slows it down. That's what we want. That's literally our aim. We're trying to slow down the amygdala so that we can start responding to socializing differently, therefore defeating our anxiety. Amygdala is anxiety, just for the sake of ease, just drill that into your head. So we slow down the amygdala, we slow down the anxiety, we do more socializing, happy times, fun life, a life actually worth living. Okay, so moving on now to the value of self-worth and how that's going to help you further your progress into specifically overcoming social anxiety. You see, when you're going into these social situations and you're trying to communicate and interact with other people, I used to get this level of, like, I really want them to like me, you know? I really want them to like me. I hope they find me funny. I hope they, I hope I get the validation, yeah? And because of that, it was one of the many things that contributed to my pent-upness, if that's a word, pent-upness, going into socializing. So I used to be like, today they all love me. Today's the day I get that validation I've been chasing. Huh! You're giving yourself too much to do. You're putting it too much on a pedestal. And it's never going to give you that thing. I'm not saying it's not possible for you to be the person that you want to be. It is so possible. That's why we're here. But that thing you're chasing, that external appreciation of you, that validation, you'll never get it. If you go into a social situation eager, expecting to suddenly, today is a day you overcome it, that you are not anxious at all, that's not going to just happen if you're going into it with that kind of, that like depraved mindset. Oh, I don't have this thing, so I have to go get it now from this thing. It's like that phrase, don't go shopping when you're hungry, right? Because you'll go and you'll end up buying a bunch of shit that you don't need. Because the idea is, don't go into an environment that provides something with a certain level of depravity in that thing. Don't go chasing something if you have a certain amount of desperation for it. You will not get it. So when we were talking about exercise and we were talking about the gym, we kind of touched on this. It's this idea of living in a way, acting in a way where you're doing things for you, and you are the one that's appreciating who you are, and you are taking care of yourself. Think about it like you're a house with a garden, with a back garden. Going over to other people's back gardens isn't going to take care of your garden. The only thing that's going to take care of your garden is you taking care of that garden. And you being like, this is a damn nice garden. And then guess what? When it looks real good, other people come over and say, that looks fucking good. That's you. So the step is to start shifting the way you think about social situations from this thing that's on a pedestal to something that is something you're pretty ambivalent about. Now, how can you do this? Follow all the steps in step one, and you will automatically start doing this because you'll start enjoying your own life, your meditation, your time with yourself. So you'll be less, this needs to go well because other things in your life are going pretty well. You'll realize that if you're taking care of your food, your sleep, your meditation, or your food, your sleep, you'll have time to yourself and you're exercising, life is pretty good. So you don't really need to walk into a room and everybody loves you because you're pretty good just on your own, you know? So now you have actively started taking care of your mental health, general mental health, which is helping you build a healthier brain, which can respond to social situations better. And you've changed the way you look at socializing so that you put less pressure on yourself. It's more of an enjoyable thing, and you aren't it's not treating it as a problem anymore. So you are developing a more abundant mindset. Cool, great. If I'm being honest, that'll take care of most of it. There's still something that's missing. There's still that part of you that feels like, yeah, I get you, Zib. I understand everything you're saying, but I still feel like I can socialize and have a really good time instead of it just being something that, it's pretty good when it comes about. I have a decent time. I'm not anxious anymore. I want it to be something that I'm good at. not just not anxious, not just not struggling, but actually actively enjoying something that isn't just not bad, it's good, you know? Something that gives me life, something that's the thing I have in my head of when I socialize with people. How do I get that? That's step 3, becoming authentic. When you're socializing, when you're there and you're sat around people, there's a lot of thoughts in your head, mainly coming from the amygdala. What if I'm this? What if I'm that? Yada, yada, yada. We've talked about this. What those thoughts are a layer. They're a layer. They're a gap between who you are and who you're presenting to people. Then there's these thoughts in the middle, where you are naturally developing responses and conversation to things, to what's happening around you. But then you're going through this absolute trough of thoughts of what if, I'm not good enough, should I be saying this, that, this doubt, that doubt. And then eventually it comes through to you. And by then this conversation might have moved on, or your timing's off. You're just basically at different wavelengths to everyone because you're too busy stumbling through your own thoughts. Now that is lack of authenticity, because you're going through all these filters before you get to you. Now I'm not discounting filters. You should have a certain amount of filter when you talk to people, but that's different. That's a different type of filter. That's called being conscientious. That's called being compassionate and being thoughtful. That's a different thing. Keeping other people's insecurities or maybe secrets in your mind so that you don't offend anyone or hurt anyone unjustly. What we're talking about right now is when it has nothing to do with anybody else. It's just you, and you've just got all these barriers in your head. Removing those barriers, bringing whatever you are inside, who you really are, right to the surface, so that when you're talking to people, you're not even thinking. You're in almost a flow state when you're talking to people. That is being authentic. Now how? How do we become authentic? How do we become the most authentic versions of ourselves? Authenticity lies on the other side of shame and guilt. Anyone who's into philosophy and has read Nietzsche and all that kind of stuff knows how much he talks about shame and how much it can hinder your own self-development. He talks about it as the biggest thing that hinders self-development is shame, self-shame. On the other side of this shame, when we finally overcome this shame, when we let it go, it's us being completely authentic. We're not ashamed of who we are. We are who we are in that moment. That is being authentic. So how do we get there? By removing shame. How do we do that? By being open. Let it go. Let it all go. Whatever's happened, whatever has been done, maybe whatever you've done, it's okay. It's happened. Let it go. Open up. Let the light in. You see, where it becomes really difficult to be authentic is at the start, is where you are. Very difficult to be authentic where you are. You see, for me, I get it. You see, for me, being authentic at the start, it means being completely there, present as whoever you are presenting yourself in each moment. And then that's the only way you can really be in that moment, is when you're just, okay, this is who I am right now. And it's very difficult at the start because that meant, I had to sit in front of people and I'm saying I'm someone who's deeply depressed with many mental health hurdles. I'm anxious, even though you're all my equals and we all know each other. For some reason, I'm anxious sat here with you guys. Socially, I'm anxious right now. I don't even know why. I'm anxious. I don't take care of myself. I don't eat. I don't exercise. Well, they could see that by looking at me back then. I don't take care of my mind. I don't know what's going on with me. Things like that really come with this dollop, this friggin' gallon-sized dollop of shame. Stigma, shame. They stop you from being authentic because you're sat there with people, and everything, whether you're conscious of it or not, has to go through these filters of making sure no one gets an indication of that's you. You know? I don't want anyone to know that I'm feeling socially anxious in that moment because I'm embarrassed of it. I'm ashamed of it. So I have to make sure things that I say are engineered in a way that it doesn't come out. The reason I'm sharing this with you is because I've been where you are. I've been in a part of my life, or stage of my life, where being authentic was not the prettiest thing. Just do it anyways. You see, when you let these things stay in the shadows and you don't let them in, you don't let it be a thing that you accept and you admit and you just open up to, they overtake you and they just grow and grow because you're like, no, I'm not saying no, I can't no, and it just grows. You become numb. But if you can just take that hit, open up, change your life, man. When you couple it with the first two steps. So with the first step, let's start with the second step. With the second step, you got so much self-worth now, so much more self-worth, that you're able to just be authentic. They kind of go hand in hand. You got worth for yourself, so you're like, yeah, this is me. And you see, when you couple it with the first step, the kind of taking care of yourself thing, doing the basics, what you're being authentic about changes, because who you authentically are changes. Now you're somebody who is actively going to the gym. Now you're somebody who is taking care of themselves. And you can just be present and talk about that. So you are taking more steps towards being more something like somebody you're more proud of. So that'll even kill your social anxiety further. And you're just not going to think about it. You're going to be taking the steps towards somebody you want to be. You're going to have a serious amount of self-worth. And no matter what, you're just going to be who you truly are. Why should you be socially anxious? So, man, we're not quite done yet. So what you're going to do for me now is, now that you've listened to this whole thing, is you're going to go away and actually keep doing stuff to compound what you've learned. So you can think of this section as kind of like a homework bit. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to start listening to Andrew Huberman, Human Lab, because that's really going to help you compound what we learned in part one. It's incredible. It's a must. Second thing you're going to do is you're going to go away and you're going to start reading these two books. The first one is The Subtle Art of Giving by Mark Manson, and the second one is Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. Now, why the second one? You see, if you're reading a book that's about the entirety of like human history and humankind's, entire time on this planet, your own problems kind of don't seem as big. Everything kind of feels more temporary to you. So you'll read it and you'll realize that maybe that embarrassing thing you did in front of that girl, no big deal. So yeah, do me a favor, go start listening to that and reading those things, or you can come back and listen to this video again, whatever works for you, man. But yeah, best of luck with your journey ahead, and I hope you found this useful.